Okay, Tim, if you'd go ahead and sit down, let's see how it looks. Okay, I think that looks good.
You gonna join me?
Yeah.
All right. So, since we've seen y'all, we have a new channel name, but we're not gonna get into that today because Rob, we want to share some good things with the people today. Something we, in our last video when we were talking with Luke, we started talking about the sale of Rob's house. But we were like, let's take the time to actually sit down and share the testimony. So that's what we're here for today. Rob and I, we want to sit down and share the testimony about the sale of the house. So Rob, I'm going to let you share. I'm going to let you lead this video, and I'm going to share kind of my things throughout when I feel led to. So Fulgrim, take it away.
Sure. And Tim, I did take some time to bring up notes and write a lot of details and stuff like that, but I've decided not to go through that. So as I'm sharing, if I skip anything,
of course,
go ahead and jump in.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening is, as we were getting started just taking care of gardening ourselves, we started hearing people say, I'd like to be your customer. And that really spoke to us right there. So we started looking about how we could do things differently in the yard, and it just really got to a point where we realized we couldn't continue to try to build out the current yard, and we knew we had to move. So it was actually, May 2023.
Oh, when we had the realization where we need more space.
Yeah, so this is something that's been going on for a long time. And
right.
So it was May 2023 that we started realizing we've got to change things. And it was about that time we met with Priscilla. Mm-hmm. And then we started just talking through, that was June 2023. And I remember that because it was at the beginning of the month, your birthday at the end of the month. And we were going to do a mid remodel kind of thing of the house before we put it on the market. But we had 2 to 3 weeks that we had to get everything packed and be out. And we actually had to move out. They wanted us not to be in the house at all. We had planned to move into a corner, the room off the garage where the aquaponics is. From there, we just kept talking, but we realized the only instruction God had given us was to pack, get everything packed. And we knew there was just no way we were going to be able to get everything packed the way we needed to and be out in 2 to 3 weeks with Tim's birthday at the end of the month. We had some plans there. We had just put in a lot of our gardening stuff and started getting some things and testing and it was just like, this is not going to work.
Yeah.
And so I think it was by August 2023 that we realized we just had to keep packing and put everything on hold, right?
Yeah. Correct.
Okay, so the instruction was to get the house packed, and at the end of December, I thought everything was packed. And so we're looking for the next instruction because that's the way God's been doing. We finish one instruction, and then He gives us the next instruction, and we go from there. Well, January went by, we didn't have any instructions.
Right.
February, and we're still no instructions. And so I was just going back, well, God, tell me what's going on. What's the next instruction? And He said, you haven't finished the first one. And it was about packing. And I said, well, we only have, it's like what's left is just what we're living in. And it's only going to be a couple of hours. And He said, prove it. And so, prove it. It took me another 40 to 48 hours, and that's actual pack time to get everything packed that I thought was just going to be a couple of hours.
Right.
And so, excuse me. So then we get into March. I finally got everything finished in, I think it was February. By the end of February, March, we start talking. And at that time, God did give us the next instruction, and it was to sell the house as is and he told us to list it at and gave us a specific amount. And so we thought, okay, this is good. We got in touch with the realtor. A house that we had gone to check out in November of 2023, we thought that was going to be the one for us. In April, it sold. But it was also in April that we started getting things ready, because we decided we're going to sell as is. We got the realtor. She said, do some curb appeal. We took it too far.
Yeah.
We took it too far. We did some things we should not have done because we deviated from the sell as is.
Right.
Which delayed, because we had hoped to have, and this was by now 2024, and we had hoped to have the house on the market in April and be out by the end of May and already be where we're going during that time, so we had some growing season in 2024.
Right.
Whoa. Okay. So the work that was supposed to get done was supposed to be done within that time period, and it wasn't. So that delayed us by 2 months. Then we were delayed another 2 months, and it seems like it was actually like 5 months off, because that was putting us in August, and we were still trying to get some stuff wrapped up.
Right. Well, I think maybe more 4 months from the time we met to get the work done, and then by the time we put it on the market.
Yeah.
But point being, like Rob was saying, was because of our disobedience to the instruction and not asking God for clarification, it did throw off the timeline and how we wanted to move with things.
Yeah. Now, also in March, and I'll go back just a little bit on this one because there was a very important piece of information. Part of the reason for sell as is was God told me the family who's going to buy, and he went through and he described the family.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said she's going to come through and she's going to see all these things that she likes about the house as is.
Right.
He's going to walk through, her husband would walk through and say, I can fix this, I can fix this, I can fix this, I can fix this. And they would end up being the ones to buy the house. So because we deviated, I really thought that we had missed that family. I thought that was part of it. And so we got back with our realtor.
Yeah, we got back with her, I believe it was in August, after we got somebody else to come in to finish the work for us.
Yeah.
And we were talking we were in the house, and we just started having a conversation with her, and then it got into what she wanted, her recommendations were for the listing.
Yeah. And the good thing about this is she and her husband had walked through before. Her husband was, I guess he was distracted because he didn't see the room, and it was the aquaponics room. He saw the aquaponics. He didn't see actually the room. By this point, we've already packed up quite a bit. And so he could see the size. He could see some of the outlets and stuff like that. And he was amazed. He was like, this is going to sell this house. So he was excited about that. And then she did research and she said, I think we should sell. And list it, excuse me. And she gave us an amount that was $20,000 to $40,000 more than what God had instructed.
Right. Which at that point, both Rob and I, we were like, we appreciate your expertise, but, we deviated the first time from the instruction. We don't want to do it this time. And it was funny because her husband looked at both of us like, wait a minute, are you serious? Y'all aren't taking this? And which, Priscilla looked at Robert and was like, you're the first person that I've had to talk up on selling it, where it's like most times with sellers, I'm talking them down on the price. But the great thing was they were very respectful of our wanting to be obedient to what God had said. So it's like, hey, Rob and I, we're going to pray about it. We'll get back with you and go from there.
Yeah. And so from there, we went ahead. We were very concerned. And that's the thing. We messed up, and we admitted we deviated from God's first instruction because here we are now. It's August 2024.
Yep.
A year and what,
yeah,
2-3
middle of the
months?
month. Yep.
Beyond when we had originally started this whole process. And so we were just not going to delay it anymore. We know God's given us a vision. We know we're supposed to be moving and getting out of that house. And it took so long with that first deviation. I don't care what the dollar amount is. It wasn't what God told us. And we were not going to deviate. And so we agreed that, yes, we would pray about it. We would seek God for insight, for wisdom. What would he want us to do? We were committed to following his instruction. And so Tim and I both separately prayed about it, came back together, and we agreed we need to go with the wisdom that Priscilla is offering.
Right. We drew on the scripture from Proverbs where it's seek wise counsel, and we felt like in this situation, Priscilla and her expertise, we had a piece about moving forward with whatever she thought was right in listing the house and what the price would be.
Yeah. So we got everything finished and we were getting ready to put the house on the market. Her husband had already come over, set up the lock box, dropped off the signs. Before we put the house on the market, we wanted to go out and make a video and just record some thoughts. And I'll tell you, I was so emotional. I'd had all these things that I wanted to share, but when we got there and it was recording, I'm just like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
So I didn't share much, but Tim on his video, he did share more of his thoughts and so forth. And when we finished that, we went back in, we called Priscilla and said, okay, we're ready to move forward.
Wait, you know what's funny about this guy and why I love him? I'm going to actually go back a little bit. Before all this, what I'm trying to say is, so before we got the signs out, before we did all this, before we were ready to get the sell going, was Rob had talked to Priscilla, separate conversation about the listing.
I was going to go there, but...
Oh. No, I that's why I did make that point, is like every time Rob is sharing this with somebody, like when we get together, I always kind of like chuckle. It's like, man, it seems like you always go to like putting the signs out and
putting
then
the signs out. But because I can't remember, they were so close, and that's my point. They were so close.
And maybe I just love giving him a hard time. This guy's great though.
And so yeah, Priscilla and I are talking about it, and this is the part about we wanted to do the videos. Mm-hmm. And so she said, I've gone through and I've done another analysis on the market, and honestly, your house is an anomaly. I can't put it into anything. I don't know how to price it. I'm hearing an amount, and she said the amount, and it was $80,000 more than even what God had told us. And since Tim and I had agreed that whatever she recommended, that's what we were going to go with. And so she asked, do you need to talk to Tim about it? Nope, we've already agreed. And so then when Tim got home, because he was not there at the time, I told Tim, and here's where I really want Tim to share his story, because this confirmed it.
Yeah, so a few days earlier to this point, I was praying, I was in the prayer closet, and I had this vision of, when you're playing a video game, or I think it's even on the stock market where it's like it does a plus and the number goes up. So I saw on this graph plus 5,000, and I was like, again, this number that came up, I was like, okay, I don't understand what this means. Like, if this is what the house is going to sell for, what we're going to list for, whatever the case might be. And that's where, when Rob came to me and told the number that Priscilla was recommending we listed at, I was like, oh, that's confirmation, because I saw that in a vision. So it was really cool. That
was great. And I could just, the look on his face as he was sharing with me, said, oh, that's what it means. So that was good. And while we were talking about this, Priscilla said, quite honestly, that, I really don't know how to price this. We'll list it for this amount, and then if after a week there's no interest, we'll drop it by 5.
Well,
And
the great thing about that, and I hope I'm not interrupting here, but the great thing about that was, so like Rob said, put the sign out, made our videos, told her we were ready to move forward with it, even though Rob had, he is a perfectionist. He was like, I want to do certain things, but it's like, no, we need to move on this.
Yeah.
So we listed that house Wednesday night before Labor Day.
yeah, it was I think I remember seeing that it went live at like 8:01 on Wednesday, but the weekend, the Wednesday before Labor Day weekend. I'll just put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it went live. All right, you want me to keep going?
Of course.
Okay. All right, so we still had to make some edits to it and that sort of thing. Finally got it. Everything was accurate. And that, like I said, I think I ended up going to bed at like 9 o'clock because I had to get up so early the next morning. Overnight, and I don't have the specifics, that was in my notes, but I think it was like almost 9 o'clock, or just after 9, something like that. Or maybe it was actually before I went to bed. We got the first text message because the appointment setters were going to send text messages, but I didn't realize that's what it was and what I needed to do. I just knew that those were going to be coming in.
Yeah.
And it was for the next day. I woke up the next morning and one had come in like just after 11 p.m. for the next day. And Priscilla saw that they hadn't been accepted, so she went ahead and accepted it. And because she knew that we were going to be at work, we couldn't necessarily hit them fast. We're off to a good start. I mean, we got 2, right? Okay. Well, we took clothes with us to go shower at the gym after work just in case we needed to.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we needed to.
Yeah.
We needed to. There were so many appointments that came in on Thursday, and after we got off work and that sort of thing, we did have to go by the gym, shower there, go out to eat. We could not eat. Well, no, we did eat at home that night.
I don't remember now,
but we got interrupted, I think is what it was, because someone was in town briefly and needed to go. So we had to stop it. But no, we didn't get dinner that night. We had to go out to eat. That's right.
Right.
That's right. So we got back home, and within 24 hours of the house being listed, we already had 3 offers. And they were good offers, except for one. One was a low ball, of course, but there were 3 offers and they were good. Friday filled up, Saturday filled up. We decided just to get out of town for Saturday and Sunday, even though they had talked about doing an open house. They said it's Labor Day weekend, there's not going to be any foot traffic, it's not even going to be worth it. Well, there were so many people coming through on Saturday that the neighbors thought we were having an open house, even though there were no open house signs anywhere, because we weren't doing an open house.
Yeah.
And so people were just coming over Saturday, Sunday, Saturday morning, if I remember correctly from my notes, it was Saturday morning that Priscilla got in touch with us, and she said, Robert, we've got so many offers already on the table that, with your permission, I'd like to change the listing to say multiple offers, best and final, due by 5 p.m. Monday.
Labor Day.
Labor Day.
Yeah.
How is anybody going to get all of their approvals and stuff by 5 p.m. on Monday, Labor Day? But we agreed to it. We just trusted Priscilla. Saturday, Sunday, we're busy. And we had heard stories. Let's just say that by Monday at 4 p.m., because we had a lot of people who started canceling because they said they wouldn't have time to come over. But come over and come up with an offer by 5 p.m. We had 80 appointments that we can document. We don't know how many people just showed up because they thought it was an open house. And we know that we had at least 14 offers on the house. There were supposed to be more coming in, so it's possible that there were 18. We only saw the top 5. Priscilla weeded out only everything but the top 5 and got it down to that. And I was thinking about what God had told me about the buyers. And I just started thinking and wondering, I wonder if maybe they weren't in the top 5.
Yeah.
Because I looked at the listing of who the people were that were submitting their offer, and I didn't see any names that would match what I was told. And so I just thought, okay, now it's up to me. I can choose any of these. I can look at each offer and really weigh it the way I would like to as a business transaction. And the very first one that came up was really a good offer. Everything about it was just solid. The second best offer was just a little lower, but and it did have some benefits too. So I was kind of going back and forth. And then Priscilla said, by the way, the buyers for this first one wanted me to read this letter to you. And she pulls it up on Zoom, and there's a picture. It's the family that God told me was to buy the house.
Yeah.
And y'all, I'm not lying about this. It matched. I knew exactly who they were, but I didn't know names, and I didn't know. I just knew who it was supposed to be, and we that's it. I mean, I didn't even have to listen to the letter. I didn't have to do anything more. I immediately knew who it was, and I immediately knew that's the family God intended to be there. And so within just a few days, here we are, and this is now Tuesday, the day after Labor Day, that we're looking at these. So by Wednesday, before it's even gone a week, we already have a contract on the house.
Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy just how everything moved. And I think the biggest lesson for me that I took from the whole process of the sale of the house is, even though we goofed and even though we thought we missed it, you know, God is so good. He knew we were gonna make that mistake. He knew we were gonna do what we did. But I think the beauty of it was He wanted to show us that, hey, I want y'all to trust me.
Mm-hmm.
I want y'all to trust my voice, what I'm saying. But even if you don't, you know, I'm still going to show out for you. But obviously, obedience is the main thing. Obviously, things would have worked a lot smoother if we had followed through with the instruction the first time. But just even in us goofing, He just showed us what a loving Father we have. You know, what a great God that we serve. So it was just, yeah, and it pretty much answered all of our prayers too, and just having that belief and faith that God's gonna show up when He shows us things. So
well, now once we accepted the offer, we moved into an option period. It was a 5-day option period, and they sent all kinds of inspectors over. There was the foundation, the home inspection, the pool inspection, and it seems like there were 3 or 4. I can't remember how many. We just had so many appointments popping up. It was crazy about who needed to be in the house. When can we be there? No, we have to get out. That sort of thing. And when the option period ended, we were still moving forward.
Yeah,
that was good. And it was after that when the buyers were trying to be approved for their mortgage. One of the requirements was that the insurance company be selected and approved for the property. And so they had requested to come over and we didn't know. They just said they needed to come over. They wanted to meet with us.
Yeah.
We didn't know that it was actually insurance related until they got there. But so while the husband was walking through, the insurance company had him taking pictures and leading him through. So he was trying to figure out where all the rooms were. We sat down and talked with the wife. She kind of told a little bit of her story. And she's actually the one who said there were so many people coming because they lived right across the street. And she said there were so many people coming that we thought there was an open house. So we wanted to go over and check it out. They weren't even looking for a house.
Yeah.
And so they did come and they got in touch with Priscilla. Priscilla showed them through. But just as a courtesy, Priscilla referred them to another realtor to represent them so there wouldn't be a conflict of interest, which I I love those ethics. That's great. So then we're talking, and I shared with her what God had told me about who the buyer would be. What happened, Tim?
Yeah, she broke down. It was a very sweet moment because it was the oh shoot, I don't even know how to put it, but yeah, she was very touched by it, and then she even shared.
Well, when we say she was touched by it, she was crying.
Yeah,
I mean, tears were coming out because she told us about how in July they're in cramped quarters, and she was just crying out to God, asking for their place to live. And we're really looking in the market for a place at the time. And there have been several other details that we were given along the way after that. But basically, they didn't know. They had moved from California. They'd been across the street for 2 years living with family and really didn't know where in the country they were going to go next.
Right.
And so that's how God just answered that prayer. But I love one of the things that she said, and she asked us, because it was important that I share with you that she did get in touch with Priscilla, and that Priscilla showed them around, because she asked me, did Priscilla tell you about us? You know, it was kind of like, she must have talked to you. And we're like, why? What's up? She said, because everything that I told her that God had shown me is what she and her husband actually did as they walked through the house.
Yeah.
I mean, and that was what she said, right?
Right.
So that was confirmation to us. That was really encouraging for us to hear. But then also it was comforting for her because they went through this process. And I'll tell you, it felt like for us that it was going fast. Man, it was moving fast. Once we listed and went live, it went fast.
Right.
She said the same thing for them. It was going fast.
Right.
So we ended up, we had a very short period too for closing. Part of the contract was that we would have a lease back so that we could stay in the house up to 30 days and not have to be out immediately, which was great because once the check cleared, we had funds all in place. We were able to give notice at our job because we realized it was now time for us to move on to where we're going so that we can look and see, where we're going to be living.
Right.
We didn't have anything in place at the time. And so we did. We stayed. Actually, we started moving and we had to take one additional day.
Right. And that kind of leads into how I wanted to close this video as Rob and I share where we've been the last couple months. So this, going back to October 23rd, when we had to move out, we moved to the area that we believe we're supposed to be. And again, just God's goodness and how he clears hurdles out for us is we needed to find storage. We had been doing our research and we actually asked some family that I have in the area about recommendations, and she gave us a few recommendations, and we ended up going with this one.
Well, that was the only one she gave, actually.
Oh yeah, that's true.
She didn't know about the other options I found online.
That's correct. See, this guy, great guy. Anyway, so we go, did we call him ahead of time or?
We did.
So we called him ahead of time. We explained the situation, and just the beautiful thing about it was he worked with us, and he was very trusting too. Which he was, with his business. That's guys you don't meet ahead of time, and you're just going off of what you feel about people. And he trusted us. He was like, hey, set up over here. If you need to set up over in this storage unit, go ahead. So it was amazing how much he worked with us, especially on a short notice. And after we got everything in storage, we stayed at this one motel for the first week, or it might have. I don't even think it ended up being a full week. And it wasn't a good situation. And then we moved over to this other motel, which we wanted to go with originally, but I guess whatever the booking site was, they were just trying to, I guess, get more money and stuff like that. Because when we checked in, we were explaining the situation to the person in there at the front desk, and they were like, "Oh yeah, that doesn't sound that doesn't sound like us." And then so we stayed there for a little bit, and
the whole point was that the storage was close to the first motel,
right,
where we were where we were staying, and if we had to go to the other storage that we had, not storage, but motel that we had originally wanted to book, it would have been further away. So this was actually closer, and it was just because of something that happened on the website that we decided to go this other route. Once we got everything finished with storage and we no longer needed to be close, then we went to one that we wanted to go to first, which actually turned out to be even less expensive than what the first one was. And slightly nicer.
Right.
Slightly nicer. But yeah, we did, we were eating out every night, and it was horrible. We got tired of doing that, and so the guy from the storage was actually the one that recommended that we go and look in certain areas that we normally would not have thought would be an option.
Right.
Which is how we found where we are now. So God provided a nice small, it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, has a kitchen. That was the main thing. Has a kitchen and a refrigerator.
Fully furnished too.
It's fully furnished. And it just so happened that us coming here was also helping them as well with some expenses they needed to cover. So this particular place was not booked out, I guess really what you would say. Normally it would not be the way we're using it in the booking situation. Right. But they understood our situation, they understood what was going on, and they were welcoming us, and it's been a blessing.
Yeah. And I think another thing too that Rob and I, we've talked about so much amongst ourselves is, we've been so antsy and ready to get on the land where we're supposed to go, start working it, start growing stuff, start with animals. And I think during this time, God has really showed us a lot. And the main thing is to really work at His rhythm and what a productive day is, because especially here in America, Western culture, if you work a job, you're working 8 hours a day, but really within those 8 hours, you're not really maximizing the time, or, there's certain tasks that you need to get done. But just the beautiful thing about this time of transition for us is, we've been able to be refreshed. We've been able to do some preparation work with business, play around with the software that we got for starting our seeds, planting beds, getting the ins and out of that. But as well, just even seeing God's goodness throughout it. Even just recently, Rob and I, we've been watching a minister that we really like listening to, Andrew Womack, and the series that's really spoken to us is Don't Limit God. And he talked about how in his ministry, the first 30 years, God was, meeting his need. They were doing certain things, but God spoke to him saying, "Hey, you're limiting me. Like, I want to do this in your ministry." And it spoke to Rob and I, because our heart with what we want to do is we just want to get land. Like, we've kicked around the idea of getting an RV, of, hey, the house doesn't have to look good and this sort of thing. And it spoke to us because we believe our heart was in the right place, but we were limiting God because we were seeing things in a natural way. And it's like, what can we do in our own strength? But again, it goes back to just something we believe is, and what God created with humans in the first place was partnership, us working together with Him, and He's the one who's going to supply our need. Like, it's already done. Like, He already knows our needs. He's going to supply those needs when we need it. And that's a lot of needs right there. in a row. But just looking at that and saying, okay, God, we're not putting limits on you. We are believing in something bigger than us because, again, we have to trust in you. And again, it's not about us and looking at what we want to do with the land. It's deeper than gardening. Rob and I, we mentioned that several times on videos, is our mission is more than just providing a physical need for people. It's also providing an area where spiritual healing can take place, where people can come. They're not going to get it right away, but they feel the Holy Spirit's present. They know something's different and they want to linger. It's something very similar to, I can't speak for you, but one of my favorite movies, Field of Dreams, where it was spoken to him like, if you build it, they will come. And that's how we look at it with ours, is we're trusting in God, His wisdom, how we are to do things, and the people are going to come.
Yeah. And so one of the reasons we wanted to do this video is to share with you what God did for us, through us, to us, and be an encouragement to you. Because whatever it is that you're going through, you can take our testimony of what God did for us and how He moved and how He came through and, stand on it because your faith may not be strong enough to stand on its own, and you need to hear other testimonies. Well, that's what we want to offer for this. The other thing is that as we were going through all of this, we felt so blessed.
Yeah.
I mean, it was overwhelming just how much we felt on the blessings. Every little thing. There are details that I can't share with you because it's like it would take too long to go through this video. But just understand that there was a lot that happened, and it's to a point that now for the next step where we're going for where we will be living, because we did close on the house in September, late September. It was late October when we moved out, so we've been here for 2 months, a little over 2 months or so.
Right.
At this point, and we're not in the house where we're going to be, and we really do need to get things started seed-wise so that we're ready to plant in the spring and take advantage of some spring harvests and so forth. But that's not what God had in mind. And so everything that was going on for the sale of our house is also meant to be something that strengthens us, that lets us know that what I did for you before is nothing compared to what I'm about to do. Because our vision, the vision that we believe God's given us, is so big that if we tried to do this in our own strength, it's not going to happen. We're going to fall flat.
Right. And it would take years, many more years to accomplish than if we partner with God, we trust with Him and know that He's our source. So,
well, and along with that was the logic. Okay, if we did things the way people are saying the world does it, what you're doing is not logical. You have to do it certain ways. Well, if we followed that, I'm telling you, we'd be in a constant failure circle.
Right.
It would not be happening.
And we've already been down that route. Rob and I, even just in the time that we've been living together, is we've been looking at things logically, but then we had to draw back on Scripture, where it's what in the Bible makes logical sense. Just any story you see throughout, everything comes down to faith, and everything comes down to believing what God is communicating to us, even though it doesn't make sense. But the thing is, what we've learned, especially through this testimony with the selling of the house, is, just ask for clarification, where it's, hey, okay, God, this is what you're speaking to me. I don't understand it. Maybe He'll explain more, or maybe it will just be hey, trust me, this is what I'm telling you. So that's why we wanted to come on this video and share that testimony with y'all, because like Rob said, is we want it to be an encouragement to y'all for what you're believing in. And it might not be a provision thing like it's been for us. Maybe you're believing for a physical healing. Maybe you're believing for mended relationships. Whatever you're believing for, just know God can do it for you. And just I leave you with this, kind of how we left it with the last video, is come back again, because we'll have a testimony video for the property we're going to get in. So it's almost like a 3-part series that we've done. You know, it started off with our friend sitting down with Luke, where we recommend watching that video. We'll link it in the description. And again, I guess to make it a good TV show, episode, whatever you want to say, like, it's a we're going to leave you with this cliffhanger. Come back, because we will have a testimony about how God is going to move and get us to the property we believe he has for us. So, Foldrum, any closing remarks for the people?
Just be ready to be amazed.
Yeah, amen. All right.
Yeah, what God's about to do is wow. Unbelievable. And when you see, you'll understand.
Yeah. Thank y'all for hanging with us. God bless, and we are looking forward to a prosperous 2025, and we believe the same for you, and just to have, like I said, have that faith to see God move in your life.